Welcome back to a world where magic rules, monsters roam, and destiny is rewritten by a mage too powerful to control. This is the story of the Water Mage and how everything changed when he arrived. Our hero was reborn into a world fueled by ancient magic. But what no one knows is that he carries a secret power, one so dangerous that even the high mages would fear it if they found out. He started with nothing, no allies, no knowledge, but quickly unlocked powers far beyond normal magic. From summoning storms to freezing entire armies, his strength is growing, and it's starting to scare the people in power. But power draws attention. Along the way, he's earned the loyalty of a steadfast knight and a mysterious girl who knows more than she says. But in the shadows, powerful enemies plot his downfall, and not all of them are human. The kingdom is shifting, and the mage stands at the center of it all. Just as it seemed peace was within reach, darkness began to stir beneath the surface. A cursed power is awakening, threatening everything he's built. As flames consume the land and shadows rise, the true test begins. And that's where our story picks up again, at the edge of chaos. If you're just joining now, you've only seen the tip of the iceberg. The full story from chapter 1 to 19 is already on our channel. Over an hour of magic, mystery, and battles you don't want to miss. But for now, it's time to continue. And things are about to get wild.
While Nils, Ito, and Emon were out on their mission assigned by Rio, our hero was experimenting with new formulas until he finally managed to create his first antidote. Having made his first antidote, suddenly someone shouts near our boy, asking him to stop. Rio pauses what he's doing and looks to the side, alert, wondering what the shouting is about. We then see Dan from room 1 saying the girl clearly doesn't like it and telling the guys to leave her alone. One man is holding the young woman, saying she can serve drinks for them, and if she's good, they might keep her around while they're in the city. Rio sees the scene in the courtyard through a low window. He thinks they're knights trying to take advantage of a young woman who just became an adventurer, around Amon's age, and he notices Dan standing nearby. The men say that if she lives there, she must be a new and broke adventurer, and that they could help her out. She could keep them company for the night. While the girl screams and refuses, Rio thinks he'd rather not have to intervene. He also thinks there are probably plenty of places in the city where they could go to get their fun. They could have just gone to one of those. Dan then yells at the men, saying the girl said no, and if they didn't stop pushing her, they were going to get beaten up. One of the knights pays attention to Dan and asks him to repeat what he just said. He lets go of the girl, who runs toward Dan and says he's going to teach the adventurers a lesson in manners. The girl runs behind Dan, who protects her, and 2 other adventurers join him. The knight draws his sword and says he's not going to kill the boy, that it's just a lesson, and that Dan should be grateful for it. Dan then faces the knight with another adventurer at his side. Tense, he waits for the moment the knight will charge at him. Suddenly, the knight flips in the air and lands face first on the ground. Dan is in shock, not understanding what just happened. The knight curses while trying to get up and tells the adventurer not to move. Then, raising himself a bit more, he says he'll teach the adventurer a lesson. And once again, he falls to the ground, this time on his back. One of the knight's friends asks Dan what he did to his friend. The boy says he didn't do anything, and that the man is just falling to the ground on his own. Shaking him with rage in his voice, the knight tries once more to get up and leap toward Dan. But again, he falls face first on the ground, unable to stay on his feet. The boy remains in shock, watching the man try to get up and beat him down, only to fall each time. The knight's friends stare, frozen, just like the adventurers, all watching without understanding what's going on. Rio watches calmly from his low window. Then Phelps, the leader of the White Brigade, appears and tells them to stop the show. Dan recognizes Phelps immediately, while the knight finally manages to stand. He then rudely asks who the long-haired man is who just showed up. Phelps says that they act like this and still dare to call themselves knights of the realm, that they should be ashamed of themselves. The knight, filled with anger, says that an adventurer is trying to teach them about manners when someone interrupts him, telling him to shut up. Phelps says this has nothing to do with being an adventurer. It has to do with being a knight, and that he should act like one. The knight says that no one stands against the knights of the realm, and that if they want, they can have the leader of the adventurers guild banished from the city. The leader of the White Brigade says yes, he is an adventurer, but he also happens to be a noble of the realm. He then says his name is Phelps A. Heinlein, heir of the Marcus Heinlein family. One of the knights looks at the other in fear upon hearing the name Heinlein, and the other says that the captain of the Royal Knights is named Alexis Heinlein. Phelps then confirms, yes, that's right, the current head of the Marcus Heinlein family, his father. The knight who had fallen retreats to his friends. Then Phelps yells for them to stop dragging the name of the Royal Knights through the mud and to get out of his sight. The boys who were there thank the warrior while he says it's all right, no need to thank him. That the actions of those knights made him angry, and he praises Dan for his attitude, telling him to take the girl back to her friends. Rio had still been watching from his low window as the adventurers began to leave. Then Phelps sees him at the window and asks if he's Rio, and Rio says yes, that it's a pleasure to meet the warrior. He says he's the leader of the White Brigade and that he had heard about Rio from Abel, but that it's true, Rio uses some interesting magic. Our hero, Mata, says it's fine. He doesn't have to bring it up if he doesn't want to. Phelps then says all he saw was the knight trying to charge the adventurers and falling to the ground like a fool, all thanks to Rio. Then bowing to our hero and thanking him in the name of the adventurers of Loon, Phelps begins to lean forward, but Rio tells him there's no need, that he has a history with Dan, and that Dan wouldn't have accepted Rio's help even if he offered it, so he had to do something discreet to assist. Phelps then reinforces that, just as Abel said, Rio is truly interesting, while Rio wonders what Abel has been saying about him to others. The leader of the White Brigade says that Abel mentioned our hero during the Great Tide celebration, that he kept saying how much easier it would have been if Rio had been there with them. He also said that it's hard to impress Abel enough to make him talk so much about someone, and that he knows Rio was the one who helped the warrior get to the city alive. And that losing a bow would be terrible for the entire city of Loon, and he's very grateful for Rio helping to keep him alive and bringing him back. Then a woman appears at the door and tells the leader that it's almost time for them to leave. He thanks Rio and apologizes, saying he has to go, but that he'd love to talk more another time. As he watches Phelps leave, Rio says he's tired, though a happy smile appears on his face. Our hero thinks that both the woman who came to get the leader and the leader himself are quite strong and wonders if it's really okay for the heir of an important family to be an adventurer. Sometime later, in the Grand Hall of the Adventurers Guild, someone remarks that it's rare to see him dining alone. Our hero says his 3 friends are out on a mission at the abandoned mines, and that even if he sat with Abel, he wouldn't pay for his food. And that actually, as the veteran, Abel should be the one paying for Rio instead, while Abel, flustered, says he has no intention of buying anything for rich rookie adventurers. Rio then says Abel is a cruel friend, and that he's overreacting. Our hero says it's rare to see the warrior dining alone in the middle of the Adventurers Guild, and asks him where the other members of his party are, while Abel says just because they're in a party doesn't mean they have to be together all the time. Rio chuckles and says he gets it. Then he reveals that he knows why Abel is alone at that moment. Abel tells him to go ahead and say why he's there alone. Our hero says it's because he's going to visit the red light district, and Abel calls him an idiot and clearly gets very nervous. He immediately tells Rio to never say that out loud again, because you never know who might be listening. Rio then says that walls have ears and doors have eyes. Abel replies he's never heard the part about doors having eyes and insists he wasn't planning to go to the red light district. Our hero says he knows that's a lie and that he knows Abel regularly visits a certain girl, to which Abel shouts nervously that it's not like that and tells him to shut up. The boy says that if Abel wanted anything with Lynn, people would start calling him mean nicknames. Abel then accidentally blurts out that Lynn belongs to Warren and immediately covers his mouth, realizing he let something slip that he shouldn't have. Rio then says it's a pairing of extremes, but as long as there's love, height doesn't matter. Thinking more carefully, our hero begins calculating, and if it's not her, then it must be the other girl. He asks Abel if he's planning to hit on Ria, and Abel, extremely flustered, tells him to stop talking. Rio then thinks to himself that he feels sorry for Ito, who won't even get a chance to express her feelings in the end. Our hero also finds himself thinking that since he came to Phi, he hasn't felt attraction or desire for either men or women, and that he's okay with that. Then Rio asks Abel if he's doing alright eating only 1 meal at night, and the warrior says that 2 meals would be a bit much. Our hero says that he'd only need to move around a little more, while Abel looks confused. Then Rio says he'll need to do more exercise at night before bed, and Abel asks if he's secretly working for the red light district. Ray responds no while smiling. He says he could be working to stop shady merchants and take their money to give to the poor, while Abel says that's still robbery, even if it's for the poor. Our hero then says the warrior has no sense of humor and decides to stop joking for now. Then Abel says that one of the researchers is a royal member and not all the knights in the escort are good. He knows some of them show up there at night, and he wants to catch them. Rio then says he understands, though he clearly looks like he doesn't. He asks how they'll find those knights, and Abel says it's simple. They'll walk around the city, and if they see them causing trouble, they'll beat them up. Our hero says that's a surprisingly solid plan. It's nighttime in the city of Loon, and the full moon shines high, lighting everything. At the Adventurers Guild, someone shouts, outraged, asking what madness is going on. That these people show up and demand all the food from the guild and still plan to enter the dungeon starting today, even wanting to break the protective seal. And on top of everything, they're demanding that adventurers serve as their personal guards. Then the guild master ends his speech by saying that even jokes have their limits. A deadly silence follows between the 4 members in the room. Clive Staples, president of the Central University of the Kingdom, says the king appointed Count Harold Lawrence as the leader of the investigation, and that they have a letter granting them full authority. He then shows the letter to the guildmaster, who picks it up from the table. Reading the letter, he says that it does indeed state the guild must provide all necessary support to accommodate the group. but that he can't give away all the guild's food, just as the man was about to thank him for understanding. Clives then asks if the guild master knows the meaning of the word accommodate. The guild master retorts by asking Mr. President Clive Staples if he knows the meaning of the phrase as much as possible. Then, Arthur Verisis, court mage advisor, asks both men to stop arguing and reminds them that they are all important leaders of the kingdom. He also says that he agrees with Hugh that they should request all the guild's food, and they'll figure something else out, like requesting supplies from neighboring towns. Hugh agrees and says that would help a lot if they did that. Clives then gives in and says fine, he won't bring up the food again, but he won't give up on the dungeon being unlocked for them to enter. Hugh says they don't know what's happening inside the dungeon, and opening it under these conditions could be fatal. The other man replies that the research team was created specifically to examine the dungeon. After a few seconds, the guildmaster says it's fine, but on the condition that they go at their own risk, and he'll ask them to sign documents acknowledging this. Clives is clearly annoyed by the guildmaster's requirement. Hugh then says that if Clives doesn't like the condition, then he won't open the dungeon. Arthur tells Clives that they don't have another option. He then suggests to the guildmaster that it's okay if they hire adventurers. They still need money to survive after all. The guildmaster agrees, saying they can accept or refuse at their own risk, but warns them not to forget. No one has any idea what goes on inside a dungeon after a great tide. They might find things never seen before, and they should proceed with caution. Meanwhile, in another part of the city of Loon, Rio tells Abel that there's something he'd like to ask him. He says he didn't find what he was looking for in the southern library and wanted to go to the northern one, but doesn't know if there are any restrictions, while Abel explains a few rules. The warrior says the adventurer entry card is black and that Rio shouldn't have trouble getting access. He just won't be allowed into the restricted section. Rio is surprised to learn there's a restricted section, while Abel asks him how lucky he feels to have started as a D rank in this city. Our hero then pauses and asks how popular Abel is in this city, since he seems to be greeting people on the street all the time. Our boy starts to notice something to his left as he says that many adventurers were at Abel's welcome back party. Abel, ignoring Rio's question, asks him what he's staring at so much. Then our hero tells Abel to be quiet as he watches something closely. Pointing at a group walking by, he tells the warrior that those 4 people didn't attend Abel's welcome party. Laughing, Rio says maybe Abel isn't as popular as he thought, while the warrior says he doesn't care about being popular. Abel explains that Loon is the only central city with a dungeon, so a lot of adventurers come from other places, and Rio says that group did look pretty suspicious. The warrior says he didn't see anything suspicious about the group. One of the group members seems to notice they're being watched and turns around. After a while, our hero says maybe they really weren't invited to the party, and Abel says they're not from around here and probably weren't. Rio breathes a sigh of relief, telling Abel that now they know his popularity isn't dropping that much in the city, while the warrior says he doesn't care about that. As they talk, they walk into an alley behind the strange group they saw earlier, and the sounds of combat break out, then go silent. Rio then says it wasn't very nice of that group to attack them just because Abel is popular, as the group now lies defeated on the ground in front of them. The warrior then says that our hero is just jealous of his popularity. Our hero replies that no matter how much people mess with him, that doesn't justify attacking them outright. While Abel kneels to search the pockets of the fallen men, Rio says he doesn't like stealing money, and Abel replies that he's looking for their ID cards. The warrior then finds something interesting and says it looks like an alchemy tool. Our hero gets excited and says he wants it, but the warrior refuses. Rio then asks why, and Abel says it's because it's evidence. According to the card, the man's name is gaming him, and he's a C-rank adventurer from the guild in the city of Jacalia. Abel then says that Jacalia is the capital of the Alliance and that something strange must be going on if Alliance adventurers are showing up around there. He then says they should hand the men over to the guards, while Rio jokes that every now and then Abel does something good. Abel says he always does good things, but our hero says he heard Abel had been telling everyone how much easier the Great Surge would have been if Rio had been there. Abel looks surprised and asks how he found that out. We then see Phelps leaving an inn and walking calmly through the streets. However, he is being closely followed by someone. His pursuers position themselves behind him and begin to draw their swords. One of the knights says it's time for Phelps to pay for the humiliation he made them suffer that morning, and that even if he's strong, he won't be able to handle all of them. The knights draw closer to the warrior with their swords unsheathed. Phelps still doesn't seem to notice that he's being surrounded by armed men. Then, as if sensing something, he closes his eyes. In the next moment, the knights leap at Phelps in a surprise attack, but they all suddenly freeze, not understanding what's happening. They realize their bodies won't move. One of the knights notices something in his leg, something like a needle. Then suddenly, from behind the knight, Phelps asks if he really thought he could defeat him. In shock, the knight realizes that the needle in his leg is what's stopping him from moving. Then a woman says that Lord Phelps let the knight's outrageous behavior slide, and that trash should be burned until it turns to ash. Then, stretching out her arms, the 3 knights turn into pillars of fire before her. She then turns and continues walking alongside Phelps. Phelps tells Sheena the mage that she did an excellent job. Returning to the scene with the adventurers from Jacalia, one of them is still conscious. As he starts to get up, he wonders what the hell just happened and says those two guys were ridiculously strong. He says he can understand that the guy with the crimson sword was powerful, but wonders who the mage was, saying they never stood a chance. The other man from the Jakalia group seems to notice something near where they are. He wonders if something is burning nearby, seeing the light and smoke. Then as they get up, one of them says the whole situation turned into a complete mess, and that it'd be better to just go back to their rooms at the inn. While the rest of the group gets up slowly and in pain, what seemed to be the leader is already walking. He then turns around and tells them to hurry up and get moving. As he turns back to face forward, he comes face to face with Sheena walking right in front of him. She seems to notice him out of the corner of her eye. The man freezes, recognizing the mage from the White Brigade. As she passes, he starts trembling and whispers an apology under his breath. The mage continues walking ahead and goes on her way while he remains frozen in place. Sometime later, he screams out, asking why this city has so many monsters just walking around everywhere.
Hey, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.